everyone, if you're new here, I'm Aude, a writer and filmmaker. I have published novels and short stories over the years in French. Happy Pride, everyone! To celebrate, I have decided to share with you my coming out story. As a queer African that grew up in France, I have to say that my coming out story was relatively painless and, dare I say, fine. I like to call myself a career gay, i.e., someone who has built a good chunk of my career doing community work and other type of work with queer communities. So it's really impossible for me to not be out because so much of the writing workshops, so much of the one-to-one coaching, so many of the stories that I write are about queer people. I am kind of afraid to disappoint, but the way people around me have reacted to my queerness was mostly uneventful. I know that by saying that, I also have a lot of privilege around it. So I am going to share with you my coming out story. So June is usually an important month for me. And during Pride Month, I usually lead a few writing or communication workshops all over different countries, and in this workshop I teach people how to create queer stories. I also usually take part in multiple talks on how to navigate the world as a queer person and also the joys and the sorrows that come with it. And well, it's time to reflect on why it's so important to me. So, what exactly is my coming out story? I don't think that I have one per se. I feel like coming out is an act that happens so often that you have to do it over and over again because you will always meet so many different people. The people you meet when you are young are completely going to be completely different from the one that you meet when you are a little bit older, in your 20s or in your 30s or even in your 40s. Growing up, I always knew that I liked girls before I was even interested in boys, but I never really put a label onto it. I never even knew what really being queer meant. I knew there were gay people because we saw them on TV all the time, and I even have queer family members, of course. Actually, I shouldn't say of course because it's not a given, but I always had queer family members. So I knew I liked girls, but everyone insisted on the fact that I had to have a boyfriend to be normal and accessing the holy grail of popularity at school. I've always wanted to be popular, and I was ready to do anything to fit in there. But the truth is that straight people have a gift to smell queerness out of kids before they themselves even get the chance to figure out what's going on. So they smelled it on me, and I freaked out and tried to convince myself that the other was just, after all, a fragment of their imagination. A couple of years later, it felt like I couldn't escape what I was feeling was becoming a part of myself. I found myself developing a strange obsession with every single queer indie film that has ever been made. I had to watch all of them. And then I also had to read so many queer novels. I strongly believe that there's no obligation to come out, and more often than not, I believe that queer people should be safe no matter what, even if it means not letting others know who they really are. But for me, it was a bit different. I wasn't sure about the validity of my feelings regarding my gender expression and my attraction to people of all gender. But I knew that it was something that I couldn't brush under the carpet. So at 17, I came out, and it was very scary out there. I always knew, despite trying so hard to fit into whatever box people had randomly assigned me to, that I had to live my truth, no matter how scary it was. My writing, my work existed long before I even knew what being queer, what being gay meant. My work focuses on allowing people to see themselves, to reflect on the society they live in, the world they live in, and how it affects them. And because my work was really about people seeing themselves, I had to see me too. And I had to be honest with myself and the whole world. But nonetheless, pretending to be straight and cis felt like I was existing in this world wearing someone else's skin. It was scary coming out, and because I wasn't very much taken seriously, I decided to not speak about it anymore, and I kind of got back inside that warm place that the closet was. But it never felt right. People would see me as cis, and it would be too uncomfortable for me to tell them it wasn't true. And eventually, I felt like I had no other choice than to do it. I lost countless family members, friends, and simply people who wouldn't understand why being queer was such a big part of my identity when I wasn't even, quote, that gay, unquote, to begin with. For them, the moment I would fall in love with a man, I would be straight passing. So what was the point in making such a big fuss around my queerness? But my queer identity doesn't disappear no matter who I date and what I look like. The funny thing is that there are very few things in my life more natural for me than being queer. So I left the closet again and again. Every time I meet new people, I have to introduce new parts of my being and let them know who I am. Every time I meet old friends or people who knew me back when I was a very different person, I'd have to reintroduce myself. Not just my sexuality, but also my gender identity as non-binary. So, when I left the closet again, I was very adamant this time that letting the world know who I wasn't a joke. I was queer, bisexual, and non-binary especially, and people will have to accept it or get out of my way. Of course, I know that there's a sense of disappointment when it comes to some people in my life regarding my queer identity, though I may be hoping that I will be, quote, normal, unquote. Being non-binary was, and sometimes it is a harder truth to be open about it because most people know nothing about it and tend to ridicule us. We escape the binary identities and are lumped with whichever gender we pass as. But still, although the path has been not as complicated or as traumatic as it would have been if I were someone else, I'm very, very proud in this Pride Month and beyond of what I've done. I'm not just queer, I'm also someone that, although I am not an activist, is very focused on supporting queer people and helping them express themselves, their creativity, and just tap into the power of writing. And I'm incredibly proud of all the workshops and all the work I've done with so many different charities and institutions. I have a writing club for queer people of color with the London LGBTQ+ Center. And I'm very proud to have been able to create these kind of spaces where queer people of color feel comfortable enough to be able to dream and to be able to create. And for that, I couldn't be more grateful. Being queer is a wonderful thing that has happened to me, even with the institutional homophobia, transphobia, the heartache, and the relationships I had to push away or I had to end. Pride is a reminder that all the fights that our elders have led allow us the privilege to stand in our truth. And from my writing, my workshops, and my talks, I try to encourage the next generation of queer people to find the strength to keep on doing it. It's not much, but I hope it will make a difference. So, if you're a queer person, I'm very glad that we've been able to do as much as we have so far. So, happy Pride, everyone, and I just hope you have a wonderful life. Feel free to like and subscribe to my channel for more writing and filmmaking related videos. If you want to support my small business and my work, look at my website as well as my books available on most stores. Thanks for today. Goodbye.